fingers come out, webs of lies spinning from their mouths. Stop, look, and listen for a little while. You will see the face behind their smile. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow, bathing in your blood. It's never enough. There we are. Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. My name's Cliff. Move this microphone a little. It's right in front of Tim's face here.
Maybe I
There we
should
go.
move. How's that?
There we are. That's a little better. We'd like to welcome y'all. It is Sunday, December the 26th, 2021. We're having a little jelly jar of brandy here.
What they call a snoot.
Yeah, that's right. A snoot of brandy that my mother got me for Christmas yesterday. So thank you to my lovely mother for this lovely bottle. And I'd like to also thank my wife, Brandy, her parents for my brandy, because today's her birthday. So happy birthday, Brandy. And so I'm going to have a swig of this and we're going to get started.
A swig of the snoot.
That's right. My name is Cliff and this is Tim.
Tim.
We're coming to you from Carter County, Tennessee. Actually, we're from in the foothills of Iron Mountain. We're right around Watauga Lake, if you don't know the area. So we had a interview lined up with Nougat Jack 1776 to go into some of Bill Lee's alleged communist ties, some interesting things about a company called Maximus Inc., and also the Smart City Agenda from the World Economic Forum in Chattanooga. We actually had an error in communication. Nougat Jack accidentally blocked me on Twitter. I had to, he blocked my personal account somehow, and I messaged him from the show account and was like, hey man, what's up? And I think you must have accidentally blocked me, and he said, yeah, it was unintentional, so hopefully we'll get that rescheduled, because the last thing I'd said to him before I found out I was blocked was sending him the Skype handle, or I told him I was going to send it to him so he could do the Skype call Sunday, which is today, and then I logged back in, and he had blocked me, so anyway, he said that was unintentional, so we should hopefully get that together for you sometime. But I thought what we might do instead tonight, Tim, is go over a few local stories, some things in the news here recently, and also kind of recap on the year, as was Tim's idea, and I think that's a good idea.
If we can remember everything. But we've had a couple of recurring themes.
We have.
So I thought that might be a good way to tie it off.
Well, we're getting the creator of this artwork here, Wilbur Hunter of East Tennessee Designs. If you can see right there, he's working on a piece of art for us for the show.
That's cool.
And he sent me some of the stuff he was working on, and it was kind of had a lot of crazy stuff in the picture. And he's like, it's a little over the top. And I was like, well, it kind of is, but I don't know what I could tell you to remove, because we've talked about all these things that you put in the,
Okay.
whether it be a ghost or some kind of cryptid monster or UFO or something like that. So
Elon Musk flying in a flying saucer made of Bitcoin.
yeah, and with a little Shiba Inu chasing him or something. But yeah, we've kind of got into a lot of different topics on the program. And we intend to get on a lot more, because we're just getting started. But
Where are we at? We're not even at 20 yet, are we?
No, this is episode 16. I actually forgot to add that on the broadcast title, so I'll have to change that after we finish it, because I've numbered every other episode. But yeah, this is episode 16. We'd like to thank you all for doing it with us, because we've been steadily getting 50 views on a video, but we may get as many as 100 or even 300-400 on them, just depending on the video. So we've kind of got a steady audience, so I'd like to thank you all. We've got right at 50 subscribers. We steadily get to 50 views, so everybody's watching it, and we've got reached over, we've got 1,500 total views over that on the channel now. and some people are actually watching. We're up. I think we were between 300 and 500 hours of content that's been watched from our channel. So
Okay, so it's not just a click and go on.
no, most people are watching 20 to 25% of the videos on average. So you've probably got there's probably a good chunk of people who are watching the whole things, and then a certain amount who are just kind of clicking on it and then going off of it.
I'll tell you something I think you should do next time. For anybody who didn't see the Halloween episode, we like you said, we're only at 15. And I can't take a whole lot of the credit for anything that's going on here except for my appearance, because Cliff's doing a lot of this streaming. I know you can't see the screen and all that stuff on OBS. I don't know anything about this kind of thing. I thought the episode for Halloween, the way you did that was actually really cool. And I think it's unfortunate that it didn't stream until the day after Halloween, because I think a bunch of people...
Yeah.
Cause I don't watch... I wouldn't watch a Halloween episode the day after Halloween, because
right.
you're not in the mood for it anymore. But that sort of... I thought you fixed that really well.
Yeah, and, so I'd like to do a little more on the spot. Or on the scene stuff.
And other than that, yeah, I don't know where we was going with that. But
well, we were just talking about recapping the year and
yeah,
kind of where it started and where it's going and all that kind of stuff. And I think the quality of the show, as far as our learning how to do it, has definitely improved.
Well, especially for just two working people that are just
we're
literally meeting on Sunday night.
Yeah, we're just doing this for fun. We're not having work meetings or anything, or we're not focus grouping any of this stuff. We're just kind of going with it as we see it. And we will message each other something that might catch our attention. Like I think I messaged him a few of the stories that we're going to talk about tonight, or at least one of them, because it kind of goes right back into the downtown Johnson City thing.
Okay.
So I guess before we get into that, we should go ahead and do the real quick recap, because we've talked about everything from feral people to flying saucers to Planet X to Halloween to World War One.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to start that off right, it really actually does go to downtown Johnson City, because the very first thing you brought up was smart poles.
The smart poles, and
downtown Johnson City now.
Yeah, and that's kind of where this program has always wanted to go. I feel like it's just it's kind of this program is just kind of a parallel to the world out there, right? And I kind of just have to jump on and grab part of it and hang on. And see where it takes me. And this particular part of the world that I've grabbed onto and am hanging on is dragging me along through noticing the technological... basically, we're watching technology march through Appalachia in real time. It's always been behind everything, but now it's almost to the point where it's caught up.
Was it behind? Because they flooded Appalachia to electrify the entire nation. So it's really... I feel like that's almost what they're doing, because the smart poles and the smart cities and all this technology is fairly new from my understanding. So why would you try? Oh, let's go back to that. Let's go where we flooded the whole area once upon a time and we pretend like we didn't do that. Let's go over here and put these giant cancer sticks. I'm just making crap up. I don't know if they cause cancer. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, let's put these giant experimental poles in the middle of this town.
Yeah, untested anyway.
I don't know.
No, I would say that it's a little different, Tim, because but even though back then
I'm not saying that we're doing something blatantly bad. I'm just saying, it's odd to me that keep on with that, because I feel like the vortex I'm about to put you on is not constructive.
Cool. well, I feel like where I was going is this is. Okay, electricity was the new technology at the time, but at the same time, everybody around here didn't get electricity for a while. They didn't get cable for a while.
True.
So, a lot of places...
Same company.
Yeah.
TVA.
A lot of areas in this region are still without internet back in the hollers and stuff. And the only place you can get good internet is satellite, and that stuff is crazy expensive. So, we've kind of got these urban centers in Asheville and... the Tri-Cities, kind of Knoxville, Chattanooga, they're all around 150,000. I think Knoxville's up to over 200,000 people, kind of in the urban area, and everything kind of emanates out of those. They're kind of the hub for all this. So what we see happening in Chattanooga and in Knoxville and Johnson City and Kingsport, it all kind of comes out into the surrounding counties. And that's the way it's gone historically. But it's happening at a much rapider pace since the internet has started going.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like whatever we see in those cities is coming next. So that's kind of where the show is going. Is we're looking at technology coming through the Appalachian Mountains and what it's doing to the area. And I think it's doing a lot of good things. And I think if we're not careful, it can do some bad things.
I think it's definitely going to have to do some bad things. There's always that whatever catch-22. Well, that's more of a problematic thing. There's always another. You know what I'm saying? There's always an ebb to every flow. So all the good things that technology brings us, of course, there's going to be some bad things. What was next? I know we've been ragging on Elon quite a bit. I don't know if I should feel bad about that just yet.
That's another thing that's recurred in the show is Elon Musk,
mm-hmm.
and he was in the news this past week. But we talked about him before. Well, it seems like he's always in the news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could really do a nightly show probably talking about Elon Musk if we really wanted to.
Called the Musk Report.
Yeah, because we could do it every night. And if we had the attention, because all our views kind of come in over the course of a week.
Mm-hmm.
But I will start doing a nightly show if we start getting the people interested in it. Because there's just so much to look at and so much news that we can't even keep up with it on a weekly show talking an hour or 2 hours a week.
All the streaming community, not even just on YouTube, is already. You would think it would be saturated at this point with commentary and stuff.
Yeah.
But every time I find like a new streamer, I'm like, oh, they're getting 200,000 views too. So I mean, if you're wanting to represent, I guess Iron Mountain, which by the way I went to the top of that today.
Did you?
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for you to talk to the locals about local stuff because you are local.
Well, yeah, I don't want to only talk about local things, but I do want to talk about the local things that tend to affect me and people I know.
I think it's good to get your, for example, I think it's good to get your perspective because as much as I like to watch, I don't like to watch anybody because I tend to make fun of everybody I watch. But for example, you watch a lot, like Tim Pool, right?
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't say some things that sometimes you're like, well, that's pretty stupid.
Too. Oh yeah,
but it's
course.
From his perspective of whatever. I don't know, New Jersey, wherever he's from.
I think it's from Chicago.
Chicago, yeah. Okay. So just even if it's a pool or fill in the blank, a talking head here, having somebody that represents your front porch, I think that's means something for some people.
Yeah.
Especially when they're not just weighing in on a particular side and trying to, I guess, win them over.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, and I think that. You got your local news. They're going to talk. I'm not going to really get into showing people's faces that committed crimes and things like that, or
just start reading off the busted paper.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
We got all
because that's kind of what that's local news does that, and I kind of feel. I mean, there's a purpose to that, I suppose.
That could be my section. We could call it the TMZ. That's really stupid.
The TMZ report. Yeah. But I'm not really into I didn't really want to get into the whole Summer Wells thing either because that's an individual person who's had. I don't want to speak on what even may have happened to them because I really don't have any idea. If you're interested in it, you've seen the reports, you've seen the local news, you've seen the David Paulides. There's lots of different people saying lots of different things about it. I'm trying to get into more of the things that people aren't talking about. Mm-hmm. The guy that got shot out there in town. I didn't really want to get into that either, even though that is something that affects everybody. In Johnson City a couple of months ago, that was pretty big news everywhere, and everybody was talking about it. But at the same time, it was all over the news. They're giving you the details. There's no way that Tim and I are going to be able to beat WJHL with the facts on something like that.
Yeah, I'm not prone to rage bait either. I don't like to lean into.
No,
I don't want to be ignorant of people being injured and stuff like that. But I really just don't want to sit there and focus on missing people and things. It's a real. I don't know. I think for some people that is okay with them to lean into if that does something. For me, it just drags me down, and I have to keep my negative news on an educational basis and not just drown myself in it because I take it serious.
I'm right there with you, man, and I don't really look at this stuff as far as bringing you information, as you the viewer, as bringing information. It's more about letting you know how I'm thinking about this information and maybe some things that I think about that other people don't say, don't think about when they talk to me about it. And I have a lot of people say, no, I never really thought about that when I have conversations with people. So, as we said when we started the show, it's all about the conversation. As we talked about on the last 2 episodes, I find myself in the middle of this conversation a lot of times, especially when it comes, whether it be a political conversation or whether it be, I don't know, whatever it is. I'm always trying to look at both sides of the argument, and then a whole other side of the argument that maybe neither people arguing is even talking about. So that's kind of what we want to do on this show. We're not trying to step on anybody's toes, but we are trying to be honest, and we are trying to put our perspective out there. And I'm trying to look at the chat here because it's showing that we have 2 chat messages, and I'm not seeing anything. So
no, that's 2 people that are currently in the chat.
Okay. Gotcha.
He's paranoid because last week he had a fella just message him for 30 minutes, and I was watching the whole screen the whole time. It never moved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we've not figured out yet.
Also, I have I haven't mentioned this yet. I actually put the link to the Skype in the chat or in the description of the video. So if you click on the description and you want to Skype in and call, we can put you on the screen or not put you on the screen, whichever you prefer. And then we can let you jump in. What's that? Yeah, it's in the description.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Skype link is in there. We've got a Skype room open. If you want to get into it, all you have to do is click on that link there in the description of the video, and you'll be on there. So.
Walk on. We went there and saw ponies today on top of Iron Mountain.
I think I did that right.
There's a park up there at the top of Virginia. It's like after you go through North Carolina. I forgot. There's a cliff face.
Yeah, I'm trying to get us on the Skype here, so if you call in, then you'll actually be able to see us. So.
Well, hide just in case. I'm a ninja of the Scop.
There we go. Alright, that Scop is up and running, so if you decide that you want to jump in there, all you got to do is give it a click, and we will have you. We've got you on the screen right here, so we'll be able to see you.
The only requirement is you have to have a snoot of brandy before talking to the snoot master.
A snoot or a snifter? I don't know what a snifter is, do you?
I was wondering. What was the snuff that old ladies used to catch? Or carry around with them.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Is that what that is? Yeah, that they used to snort.
Yeah, what was that all about?
They'd take their very finely ground tobacco and snort it up their nose. And I bet you that gets you a heck of a nicotine hit.
Yeah, I bet it does. That would probably eventually ruin your septum like Coke would.
Yeah, I think people got.
Aunt B would be running around with like nosebleeds.
Yeah, I think they had people got nasal cancer and stuff.
God, that was just one of those things that just came flying back to me. I was like, holy hell, I forgot about
Aunt B use snuff?
No, Granny on...
oh, yeah.
God, what's the name of it?
The Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you look at the Beverly Hillbillies and you look at that, that was a caricature of people from this area back in the 1950s when that show was made. But really, it was based in reality. There were a lot of people that were not too far removed from what you saw on the Beverly Hillbillies. So, if you look at that today, you still have some of that, but then you've got this whole thing. Just imagine if you gave the Beverly Hillbillies cell phones and Wi-Fi, that their reactions to it would not be unlike what a lot of people who live here now did with it when they first got it. Because it was kind of all at once upon us. And I remember seeing in 2008, you started seeing a couple people here and there had iPhones or Android smartphones, and I saw somebody had one with Sky Map, and they were out there. I was super into astronomy at the time.
I think you're peaking on your audio here, and you're right.
Well, I think it'll be all right. Let's just move it back just a little bit there. There we are. So yeah, I was big into astronomy. I thought that was pretty cool, seeing the sky map, and then you saw navigation and maps start going on the phone. I was like, okay, I began to see the usefulness of this device beyond having a camera and being able to carry your music in addition to having a phone and text. Because before that, the cell phones, they played Snake, and they phone and text and
T9 competitions.
Mm-hmm.
I knew phones were I knew the gravity of what phones were going to be the day that I had a job bagging groceries. And I remember my stepbrother was on the phone talking to a girl. And I told another girl I was going to call her at the same time he was calling this girl. And that's back then, there was not like, beep, 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 check line 2. There's one phone and somebody's on it. You got to wait your turn. And the next day I went out and got a phone. Yeah. I was like, I can just go get a cell phone.
Whoa, yeah.
And
totally up in a new world there. Because we remember, maybe some of our viewers don't remember, but I think most of them are our age or thereabouts. But when you used to get on the internet, you'd have to 56K, was the streaming speed, the fast speed back in the day. And if somebody called and somebody picked up the phone, then you were knocked off the internet. So it was like you would pull up something and you'd be waiting on some Mortal Kombat move list or something. And
I don't want to name drop grocery stores right here. So I'm just gonna throw it out there that all the corporations, and this includes maybe not like Target and maybe Walmart, but all those grocery store chains are operating. I'm gonna say it may have changed in the last 10 years. It has been 10 years since I've seen this, but I remember for the longest time, every grocery store that you worked at, you go to the back and they had this giant, almost like the color of this, like a manila envelope, like somebody had been blowing smoke all over an IBM for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just these stack of computers. And you'd have to go back here at night and punch a button and a cassette tape would pop out. You'd flip it over, stick it in the other direction, and it'd take it back into the computer. And it was just like, it looked like a cassette that would, I guess, make the internet sound. I still don't know what that was for.
I don't remember that. I worked in a grocery store.
It looked like a mini, like a DAT tape.
Okay.
What a DAT tape looked like a VHS tape. Yeah. Like a really small, almost like a larger version of a Betamax.
Mm-hmm.
And you would shove it in the computer. They had one at a couple of the food cities. I know Ingalls in Elizabeth, and 20 years ago, the internet, well, I'm afraid, I'm trying to exaggerate on my stuff because I don't want to poop talk businesses. But I remember you could be trying to make an order, trying to send your order, and you had to wait for nobody to be on the phone because the store only had 2 phones.
Okay.
And you could have had to, so it was always like a line of people trying to order so they could set their phone on top of the phone thingy and to keep one line open in case a customer called. Right. I was just sitting there thinking, guys, when I was 18, I got a phone. Because when the girl called, I wanted to have a phone ready, and you need this for business. You might want to get a 3rd line.
That might be a good idea, a dedicated line for your computer, yeah. But now you see, pretty much everything is computerized.
Oh, yeah.
I worked at a grocery store in 1996 through 2000, I think, or maybe 97 through 2000. Anyway, it was back in the last century, or the last millennia, as a matter of fact. I worked in a grocery store. But they were starting to computerized, or they'd been computerized as far as barcodes and things. It wasn't like when George W. Bush went to the grocery store when he was president and was blown away by the scanners because he'd never been in a grocery store before, done his own shopping.
He'd always send his people.
Yeah, so, no, it wasn't like that. But we've had it for a while. That was George H.W. Bush. Sorry, I misspoke. I said W.
Did you watch the Queen's Holiday Special yesterday?
I'm afraid I missed that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sure it was lively.
It was just my suggestions, and I just saw this orchestra going up the staircase and stuff, and I was like, who still cares? But 500,000 people still cared enough.
Well, in England, it's pretty important to them.
Yeah, I guess so.
A lot of them just look at it as a figurehead, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's just a figurehead. If you have the ships named after you, and you're basically you're the monarch of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think that technically, if the Queen wants to, she can exercise her authority and command the Royal Navy and the Royal Army.
Would she get, you think?
I don't know that she wouldn't have resistance from that.
I was about to say, do you think in this day and age that she might get military couped?
Yeah, she very well might. I don't know. I guess it just would depend on what she wanted them to do.
If Moose ever comes across this, I'm about to talk about that $1.50 Thailand trip we took. We took one of those. It was just the rare. I guess I don't know how rare it is, but we landed in Thailand during a military coup.
Oh, really?
But the way they had decided to handle it, because we didn't know, but our tour guide eventually was just like, he broke it down so calmly to us.
Oh, by the way,
don't you worry, nothing's gonna happen. And apparently, what happened was the people had just they was on the verge of a war, and so one of the generals just stepped in and said, "Hey, here's what's going to happen. Neither of you sides are going to start killing each other. I'm taking control, so it doesn't happen." And at the time, it was going to be an indefinite thing to see how tensions cooled down.
Wow.
So I thought that was interesting.
The
military stepped in to keep them from attacking the royal family, essentially. So I don't know, it was very strange.
Sounds like it. Well, heck
on
of
that
a time to be there.
I only spent 99 cents on that.
Well, listen. Speaking of moose, if you want to go back and check it out, we've got into a lot of Elon Musk. We've got into a lot of transhumanism. A lot of what we look at is coming in the future. Every episode's on YouTube, so check that out. We're going to be expanding to other platforms. Probably going to go with Rumble next because that appears to be the most populated for this kind of stuff. You've got left-wing and right-wing audiences there. You got Russell Brand getting a lot of views on...
What's he?
He's the comedian.
I know Russell Brand. What would he fall in, though?
Well, he's more of like a socialist, but he's like a red-pilled socialist kind of guy as far as...
Is he American? Is he citizen?
No, he's British.
Is he?
But a lot of the folks that fall into the communist and socialist camps that I see, they kind of miss. And when I say he's a red-pilled socialist, I think they.
I've seen quite. Go ahead and describe it.
Well, I just think he has a realistic view of a lot of the problems facing our society. He may have different solutions for it or different suggestions for fixing them than I do, but I recognize that he sees what a lot of the true problems are, and he's trying to point those out to people and fix them in good faith. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like he's just a political operative.
MI6, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like he's a genuine person trying... I know what you mean. I don't feel like he's MI6. I mean, I guess he could be, but their aim tends to be to disrupt unity, and
unless they need unity.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll always conspire. Yeah, I'm just saying, like it was Harry Houdini, Elvis Presley carried a gun. There was all kinds of like instances where people went on specific like tours and that sort of thing, and had to report to the government because I think people are under the impression they ask. I don't really think they do. You
mean when Elvis went and got his DTF license, or?
I think so, but there's been specific ones. I know Charlie Chaplin was a spy. I know Harry Houdini admitted that at one point he was a spy. He was spied in Russia for him.
I mean, it would only make sense.
Yeah, you're going to tell me the Beatles never got approached by MI6? You know dang well they got approached by MI6. Well, they're the biggest band in the world. So,
Chuck Barris from The Gong Show. Did you ever see the movie... what was it? Dangerous Minds. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It was based on the story that Chuck Barris told from The Gong Show. He said he was hired by the CIA to go overseas and assassinate people as part of his role of The Gong Show and part of his travel. So there's been different people write about that. Donald Jeffries. What's his name? He's the creator of the dating game and... or the Newlywed Show. Mm-hmm. God, I can't remember the guy's name. But they've both talked about it. I wish I could tell you his name. So John Barbour, that's his name. Mm-hmm. Barbour. They've talked about it some, and they kind of think maybe Chuck was exaggerating. But it made a good movie anyway, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, if you want to watch that. But yeah, we do see celebrities either being used or claiming to have been used. There's a lot of claim that Marilyn Monroe was a sex kitten to either entrap President Kennedy or spy on him.
Hugh Hefner was like the predecessor to the Epstein type.
Oh, I totally believe that, and
I don't know if I haven't dug into that to find sufficient evidence, but that totally makes sense.
It's not been proven to me beyond a shadow of a doubt. But you look at the Playboy Mansion is connected to a lot of the other houses in downtown Hollywood. They would have big parties with lots of celebrities, and they would do lots of drugs and do lots of drinking. And the theory goes, and this I read from Crazy Days and Nights, it's cdan.net if you want to check it out. It's a lawyer in the entertainment industry, Enty lawyer, ENTYLAWYER on Twitter, and they post what they call blinds. They give a lot of information. They don't tell you who's involved in it, and then later they'll go back and unlock the blinds and give you the names for them. But this person has predicted pretty much every celebrity scandal that comes out. Indie Lawyer will tell you about it before it happens if you follow them. I think it must be a woman on Twitter from the way some of the places are written. Like she wrote one where it involved Jennifer Love Hewitt and her personally, and I just don't see Jennifer Love, a woman, interacting with a man in the way that Anti-Lawyer claims that they interacted with her. But anyway, if you look that up, they're on top of all this stuff. And on an Anti-Lawyer thread about the Playboy Mansion, basically it was wired up with cameras, according to Anti-Lawyer. And you would go there for a party. And it's like when you're starting to get involved in the Hollywood scene, when you're starting to get a following, when you're looking like you're going to be one of the guys or girls that they let you go to the next level, you go to a party there and you think, oh, well, I've made it. I'm at the Playboy Mansion. And they say, hey, you want a little bit of blow, and you say, hell yeah, it's a party at the Playboy Mansion. What the hell? You might not normally even do that kind of thing. But you think, I'm partying with Hollywood celebrities. I might as well. I don't want to be rude. And then they say,
training date.
Yeah. And then Hugh says, hey, they want you to go up and meet, or somebody says they want you to go meet Mr. Hefner or whatever. And you go meet, and you say, hello. And he says, we've got some girls that are just dying to party with you here. And then you go back and do the thing with the girls and then have a good time. And the next morning you wake up and there's somebody sitting there wearing dark sunglasses when you wake up and holding a folder with some pictures of you and probably some video of you saying, those girls that you were with last night were only 16 and 17, which is against the law in this state. So how do you want to handle this? Do you want to go to jail and get booked into right now, or would you like for me to make this go away and you cooperate with me on this particular matter? When we need you, we'll call you. There's a lot of stories of things like that going around Hollywood. So that would definitely be where were we even going with that? Where did we get onto that?
I brought up Hugh Hefner being the predecessor to Epstein.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how we got on that one, but we were
recapping the show.
Moose was an episode on Moose.
We're talking about the talking about. Well, either way, we were getting back around to.
We did the NFTs and stuff.
The technology was being used even way back then. And
why did I take you down that?
I don't know. Sometimes, Tim, and that's one of the good things about this show is I never know where you're going to take me, and in turn,
I'll do it on purpose.
I never know where I'm going to go because. That's one of the good things about having it conversational is there's so much that both of us having studied as recreationally studied world history, conspiracies, things like this for 2 decades or better. You and I have come across a lot of the same information. We've also come across a lot of different information. So that leads us a lot of conversational avenues, and the Playboy Mansion was one of them. And but to get back to, let's see, how far are we in here? We're 30 minutes in, so let's get into some of the local news. I think that's as much of a recap, I think, as we really need, especially if we keep going down rabbit holes with our recaps. We'll never get done. So some of the local news, one thing you were talking to me about, and you told me to ask Moose about it, was the dump over there in Bristol, Virginia. Now, I didn't get a chance to ask Moose about it, but I have seen it in the news since then.
I remember the article you sent me. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if this is the one I sent you, but this guy right here, he's saying that it's not just an odor, it's toxic gas, is what a man from Bristol, Tennessee, Steve Graham, says. He's parking his truck out here because apparently that smell is so bad that there are people who think it's got to be making them sick. Well, evidently the city did a test and came to the conclusion that there's not any actual
toxic side effect.
There's no actual toxic gas or whatever. But apparently those people, for some reason our display capture didn't work there, so let me try that again here. But Steve Graham here, he says that it is a toxic gas. He lives 6 miles away from the video, he says, and the smell's impacting him both inside and outside of his home. He says the smell is so strong he's woken up at night with burning eyes. That's pretty bad if you're waking up for burning eyes from the garbage smell. He says if the local government here can handle it, fine. If not, it needs to go to federal. Bring in the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't care how it gets fixed as long as it has a permanent fix. So that he's pretty upset about that. I would be too if I was smelling garbage.
No, I've smelled it. I've smelled it from the Tennessee side.
Yeah.
And the very first time I smelled it, we were walking around the yard looking for a gas leak. I thought it was like maybe the house had natural gas to it.
That's when you mentioned it to me, yeah.
And it didn't click till later on that's what all these like yard signs that says "dump the dump" was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And those "dump the dump" signs have, well, not even quadruple. They've gone up. There's yellow yard signs everywhere now. So I think it's becoming pretty mutual that everybody wants the smell gone.
Well, yeah, I can't blame them. There's not much worse than having rotten garbage in your front yard, especially. And we did a story on Red Dog Technologies down there off of Jonesboro. They're a Bitcoin mining data center.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, and when we were talking about them before, people were complaining about the sound from them because apparently running all those GPUs and CPUs at high speed, they were making a lot of racket keeping it cool with the fans. Well, we also got this story from WJHL here. If it'll pull up.
I saw that
I'm
ad,
on the wrong channel.
and I was wondering, I guess if you could sum it up with, how are they allowed to not pay any taxes on the?
Well, let's read it here and find out. And am I on the right thing here? Mm-hmm. Let's make sure our viewers can see the thing. And they cannot. There we go. I'm gonna have to do that every time.
Probably. Can they still hear you when you do that?
Yeah, they can still hear. It's because you were on Skype. That's why they couldn't hear.
Gotcha.
But in Johnson, Tennessee, the company that operates a controversial Bitcoin mine in rural Washington County did not pay taxes on millions of dollars worth of personal property. So I wonder what law means they actually pay property taxes on their personal property rather than on the income they generate from it. Because if they're not selling any income, this kind of sounds like a lot like what they're doing with Elon Musk right now, with saying, "Oh, well, he has this many assets. All his stuff is invested in Tesla and SpaceX. Mm-hmm. So this is how much he's worth." But until he sells those assets, he's not worth anything really. Mm-hmm. And if Tesla and SpaceX lost all their value, then he would lose everything. Mm-hmm. So that's why he doesn't pay any taxes per se. Tesla does pay some taxes.
Because the money doesn't really exist yet.
Yeah, it's just theoretically what they're worth because of what people have invested in the company. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if this is kind of like that. Let's look into it a little further and see what we got here.
Equipment's not really Bitcoin. I get how you can't tax Bitcoin, but it says equipment in the actual title.
Well, I wonder if they're wanting to pay them. Let's just read it a little bit further and see what we got here. All right, so Red Dog Technologies, which is embroiled in a lawsuit with Washington County, said in a recent court filing it was fully operational next to a Bright Ridge substation in November 2020. So it's been a little over a year it's been mining Bitcoin. That means the company, which also referenced $14 million in operational investment, the kind of equipment subject to personal property taxes, will be required to submit a tax schedule in early 2021. Let's see, a fully operational blockchain verification data center in 2020. And they incurred probably $5 million in construction site and $14 million in operational investment. Okay, let's see. No such schedule was filed. Property assessor Scott Buckingham told Channel 11 he had been told the equipment was part of a Bright Ridge project when they noticed the construction next to the electricity provider substation on Bailey Bridge Road in the New Salem community. Now, I guess because Bright Ridge is tax exempt, they didn't send out a tax schedule. Mm-hmm. So within the last week, driven in part by News Channel 11's questions, they sent a tax schedule to Red Dog in care of Bright Ridge. They haven't been able to find a business license or address for Red Dog, formerly known as GRIID. We're going to try to get our taxes, that's for sure, Buckingham said Monday. We're going to put in to collect last year for 2021 as well. So if Red Dog's equipment was valued at $14 million, it would generate just over $90,000 in personal property revenue tax for the county. Now that didn't. I don't know about you. I don't like the sound of that. I wonder what it is about it, that personal property tax, that allows them to demand that much money, almost $100,000 from them because they own that much in property.
They're not paying a property tax.
Would it be their property tax on the on the
they're
property?
Saying, here's what like right now, if you go if your house appraises at a significantly high, more your taxes go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they're saying is, right now they're paying taxes on all this land and stuff, but they're not paying what the land is assessed for, and they're saying there's lots and lots and lots. They're saying that property is valued a whole lot more than what they're paying property taxes.
Okay, because of the equipment that they put on it, the property has gone up.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not necessarily taking a side. I'm just explaining that. That's
I think you may be right. I don't personally like that, but
that kind of makes sense to me.
That's the rules everybody else has to follow. I don't like that.
Yeah, how much money are they making on that property though? Look how giant that building is.
Well, I guess it depends on how much Bitcoin they're selling.
They're mining, I guess.
Because they're mining it. Yeah, whoever's getting it, there's probably a lot of shareholders holding.
That looks like
getting that Bitcoin.
Well, it's not too big of a property. Look at that forklift doesn't.
Yeah,
that's a.
I mean, it's a decent sized property.
I don't know. I don't want to go white knighting for super rich people if that's what's going on. I mean,
I don't know either. Personally, I don't really care. But I don't like the idea of paying taxes on unrealized gains. So whatever, if they're making money, then I can see they'll have to follow the same law that everybody else does, even though I don't necessarily like it. Are you saying that
maybe they're pre-taxing their income or something? Because I don't know.
Well, I don't really know. I'm just saying if they're paying money for if they're paying taxes on money they're not actually earning in hand. It's like one of those things where you'll see somebody has, say, several hundred acres of farmland, and they die, and then their kids inherit the land, but that inheritance counts as income for them. So they'll have this farm that may be valued at, say, $5 million, but it only actually brings in $100,000 a year in income. So suddenly this farm that's valued at $5 million has been transferred to them. So that counts as income, and they have to pay over $1 million, half of everything over $1 million. So they end up having to give away $2.5 million worth of farmland or whatever to the government because they can't afford to pay the taxes on that. And then their farm's only making, that's half their farm almost. So then their farm that's making $100,000 a year is making $60,000 a year. So that's what's been happening to a lot of the farmers. So I see that tactic being used a lot to basically ruin small business and small farms. So I don't like seeing those tactics used. I'm not saying that's necessarily what's happening here, but I kind of get a bad taste in my mouth when I see things like that. As far as local governments getting greedy about taxes, because they've got plenty of tax money. Look at all the money these local governments spend on. Everything. They got plenty of money. So,
do you think that red dog thing is probably the government finding a way to not pay taxes, and the local government's like, nah, you're giving us our $90,000. Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, the way for the power authority to not. Yeah, I get what you mean.
I just don't know where I don't know anything about it. But.
I don't either. That's the only reason I bring it up is because it's in the news, and it's not something that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about. So I thought I'd bring it up.
That was a Drew Shingleton episode.
That was,
about Bitcoin and stuff.
Yeah, we had Drew come up and tell us about what Bitcoin and blockchain are.
And you got somebody in the chat there.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Yark Tech. Kadios Nassim.
Looks like we got some kind of bot here in the chat.
What's up, Hasim? Are you a
Kadio Nassim.
Talk to me, Mr. Bot.
I believe you're a bot. I wish old Bill Elvis, or whatever the hell his name is, Bub Elvis, that was his name, was back in the chat. We could get him back in there from Scandinavia again. That'd be all right.
Netherlands.
Oh yeah, the Netherlands. That's where he was, because we were talking about World War I. All right, so when we got to their first episode, the Smart Poll episode, where we talked about the program with the TVA, which is a privately owned, or which is a private corporation owned by the federal government, who runs the the Tennessee Valley Authority. They run the dam system, they run the flood system, and they run the electricity in the southeast and a lot of Appalachia. And we talked about how they had a deal with Bright Ridge, the Johnson City Power Company, and the Johnson City Power Board TVA will donate money to purchase smart poles to put in Founders Park and Kings Common in exchange for the data that those smart poles collect. And all those companies are working together, or those corporations, the city of Johnson City, the Bright Ridge, and the TVA to make that happen. That was the first thing that really made me want to do this show, is because I saw the story on WJHL online.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it on actual news broadcast, but they probably put it on there. But when I saw it, I started talking to people who I knew watched the news, and nobody had seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started bringing it up, and when we got into it, here's another one where we've got a pretty good track record already. Because what did you say to me about it when we started talking about how they were getting into lowering crime and removing the homeless? What did you say to me about it? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but remind me. No.
Well, you said this is what we see, right before gentrification of a city, and this looks like they're getting sick of the bums and the gypsies being downtown. They're trying to make it more accommodating for affluent people. And what do we see now in the news?
Yeah, this was a big one you sent it to me, because I was wondering what they were going to do. That's a nice building full of what you would call a gentrification plan, the undesirables. Because it's always vets and wheelchairs, a couple of bag ladies. It's the lower class of people, and they are definitely not going to want them hanging out so close to the tap rooms and anything really.
All of them are on government assistance for the most part, and if you drive through downtown Johnson City, you'll see a lot of people that live there hanging out, trading cigarettes and probably trading pills, and kind of just doing their thing, playing guitar, walking dogs, just hanging out in the street, walking up to the library to use the internet, probably the bathroom, bumming cigarettes downtown occasionally, selling little trinkets here and there.
They've really cleaned, I used the clean in the finger quotes since the people on the screen won't be able to see me on that one. They've really cleaned most of the panhandling out. It's been such a long time since I've seen any level of panhandling in downtown. They'll tolerate the... which, as they should, the vets and the homeless and that sort of thing. But if you see a guy out there with dream catchers or making something out of copper wire and stuff, they get them out of there quick.
Nowadays. Oh yeah, you know why? Because they don't have a license and they're not paying taxes. They can't stand for you to.
And I've noticed that middle archway right there. They removed the ceiling so they can't go in there and sleep now.
I know.
They pulled that. Then there was these bench-looking seats thing, and I guess they thought that college kids like to recline.
Yeah.
And it was like a chill space, I guess. As soon as I looked over and saw that, I was like, "Well, that's a bed." You just made like 9 beds.
Well, they wanted to.
They're gone now.
You reckon that's why they wanted to get rid of the rain things in downtown Elizabethton? Because they were talking about getting the canopies over the storefronts there, because they were hard to maintain or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like a good thing to have. We don't really have
a homeless problem down there. Like every time we've had a homeless issue, and I say issue because I think Gloria's gone now, and I've not seen Gloria in a long time.
The lady that wears sweatpants and
she was like 900 layers of clothing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they got her to her family or something. They didn't know she had got that bad off. That's a benign homeless person. She wasn't doing anything. Like, she might startle somebody that didn't know when she starts screaming over her shoulder or something like that. But I'm talking about like problematic homelessness would be when like the people piled up under the bridge near the park, and when they cleaned it out, it was just piles and piles of trash and bags of human poop and apparently they've been running kids off from under there. That's a problem there.
Agreed.
And I don't really see that in the downtown Elizabethton area, so I don't know what they're. I think the reason they wanted to start messing with all those canopies and stuff. Oh, Tim's getting concerned. I'm sorry to do this, guys.
Please, lay it to us.
Downtown Elizabethton has been having a battle over that car show.
Yeah.
And the majority of people are just like, don't really want to touch it. The citizens seem to like where it's at.
Yeah.
But people have been trying to reroute it for a long time for all kinds of different reasons that I don't have a side on. I just don't.
I can see every side on those.
I can see somebody being like, if we get rid of the canopies, they'll go away.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, we got restaurants, but nobody's coming in because they're here for the car show or whatever.
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. I worked at a music store when that car show first started.
Yeah.
And the owner, Lance, he was cool with it, but he decided on Saturdays he was going to start closing a little bit early so we could get out there before the traffic started, because he noticed for like 2 weeks or something, like however long it kept open, no one was buying anything. What people were coming in for was either the bathroom before they needed to go there, or just to get in out of the heat.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense for him. But a lot of the restaurant owners didn't seem like they understood how to handle it. Like, they thought running out of food was a problem. So you need to just buy more food.
Yeah, that's what you want.
So I've stayed out of it for 20 years on the car show thing. Though,
well, I mean, I guess if for a restaurant, I know they interviewed the owner of Jiggy Ray's or the manager or somebody, and they were saying, "Oh, we love it," which I can see why they would. But if you own a sports shop or arts and crafts shop or an antique shop, you're probably not going to be picking up a lot of business from the car show crowd, and you're still spending your money to stay open while the car show is going on, but you're not selling anything. So I can see why they would not have a problem with it. Although I think
there was some actual sides and stuff in there that I won't speak for people because I don't really fully understand them. But there has been some headbutting over that whole situation with the car show.
And I like I said, I see both sides on it for sure. But I don't want to get too sidetracked on that. But but let's get back to this show that we talked, or this story we talked about here with the John Sevier Center. They're actually going to move all the people who live in the Johnson Sevier Center out. Now we're going to be talking about this hotel a little bit more, the John Sevier Hotel. It used to be in an upcoming episode where we talk about Al Capone. And Little Chicago, because some of my research led me to this particular building, as well as one called the Windsor Hotel, and what's the other? The Windsor used to be called the Purdue, but it's been torn down.
Quote unquote speakeasy. There's a bar called the Windsor in downtown Johnson City. Now I guess that because it's like a fake bar, not fake, but like a fake speakeasy, I guess. And I guess that's a callback to what you're just now talking about. I never made that connection.
Well, the Windsor was a hotel down here. Let's make sure we're on the screen here. The John Sevier Center right here, they're going to move down on South Roan. It looks like they're going to move it down to kind of where Food City is, and like maybe right before Food City.
Are they moving the homeless shelter?
They're
in low-income housing, I guess.
Yeah, they're moving the low-income housing down there to... Oh, it looks like it's going to be right back kind of behind Food City. The one on South Roan. So you got, look right here, you got South Roan right here, you got Leif Cox that runs over in front of the truck.
I'm from Stony Creek. You're going to have to tell me where the big chicken is.
Okay, where Holston Distributing, the trucking is right here, and HT Hackney, and those
the Food City that's down by the underpass.
The Food City that goes if you pass it on I-26 right here going down towards Irwin.
With the liquor stores.
Yeah, right past where the One Stop used to be in the Parkway.
The Broaster's Chicken.
The Parkway. Yeah, the Broaster Chicken right there.
I'm from Stony Creek. I need dumb directions.
Yeah, right past the Broaster Chicken. So it's going to be back looks like kind of behind that.
Okay.
And the people that WJHL interviewed said they liked that because that's going to put them closer to the gas station and closer to the grocery store.
I'm sure Food City's going to like that.
I'm sure they will. And I'm sure that whoever buys this building from the city and puts condos, apartments, or a hotel in there...
it's already bought.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to like it too. Which I think, Tim, when... I hope you don't get mad at me saying this, but sharing our private conversations, but I think you're all right with it. The idea is probably going to be, the homeless people don't deserve to have the good views. The best views in Johnson City.
Yeah, it's
somebody's saying that.
I feel that way about a whole lot. That's too nice of a building because it's one of the tallest buildings in downtown Johnson City. It's real close to a lot of good stuff. There's no way they're going to let lower class people keep that.
It's a historic building, too.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. When I referenced that, it was talking about Bristol. And I was looking at all those Bristol. For anybody that might not be familiar with it, is just line after line of these little streets with. They're not. I guess you would call them lower income housing just because they're small, but most of them are kept pretty well. And now that Bristol is taking off and it's got a lot of good views, a lot of money's coming into their stuff, I really think they're going to start doing away with some of those houses and plowing them down because they're just not going to let those views go to waste.
Yeah.
And I just really think that land will get bought up and they'll put nicer houses up there and stuff.
Sounds like you may be right.
Especially that whole neighborhood that's right next to the new casino, right next to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 0.2 miles away, right across the street from the hotel and casino. There's a whole neighborhood right there. I think they're going to pay you 4 times the amount, and just a theory.
No, I'd say you're bang on that. So another quick news story here. We got apparently Joe Biden is going to have the federal government buy 500 million COVID-19 tests and distribute them free of charge to people to use at home. Well,
didn't Trump do that too, though?
I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, who's buying all these? I mean, Big Pharma has just made out like gangbusters with all this.
Oh yeah, with all the what they call it, with all the masks and gloves,
all the masks,
antibacterials. That doesn't really surprise me, just because I think they would have to buy it for like health departments. I know you have to take
this.
One
I think this is totally different, though. This is
for
individuals to request from to be sent to their home. This is for individuals to request from the government. So you'll go to a new government website to request a kit.
So you can't just go get them. You actually have to contact the government, and the government's going to send it to them. Because I don't think people would be comfortable doing that.
Well, that's what this says. I
thought you were saying it like they were going to send 500 to every health department in the counties and stuff. And
no.
On that level.
No, they're pretty much already doing that. Like you said, they're pretty much already doing that. We have when will the first test kits be delivered? They're saying early January, but they're not going to get here at the same time. My drugstore doesn't have any tests. How can I get a free test from the government? You'll go to a new government website to request a kit, but the site won't be functional until after the first batch of test kits have been delivered, Psaki said. That's Jen Psaki, President Biden's press secretary. She said the process was being handled that way to avoid creating more confusion for the public. So that's kind of hilarious to me. The idea is that anyone who wants a test kit would be able to log on to get one. We're obviously not going to put the website up until there are test kits available. So we're going to be sure and avoid this confusion by not doing that. Which home test will I get? Well, that's unclear too. But Psaki noted the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved several different ones. Will I be limited to one test, or can I request multiple? To be determined, Psaki said. Why is Biden buying these kits? So basically, I think it's because
probably because the hedge company he's a part of really is going up in value, is what I have to
that's
suspect.
what I was going to say. Probably because whatever he's invested in, who's making these things, is probably making
Yeah.
But in any case, they're saying they're going to do it to test because people are not showing symptoms with this new variant.
Omicron.
They're saying they may be okay. Well, that seems like a good thing to me. Seems like a good time to let this whole shit die.
You think maybe that?
I mean, if it's I saw on WJHL this weekend or this past week, their reporter Jeff Keeling on their online program. He was sharing some stories and he was giving his personal forecast. And Jeff does a lot of data diving, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the only data diving that Jeff really gets into is he looks at every possible way to map out like your deaths, your hospitalizations, and your cases versus different regions, and he graphs it all out. And I mean, that's all the information anybody's really getting, but I don't feel like that's very useful information because it lets you say things without having to prove them and say, oh, well, that must be the case. Like, oh, well, then, like earlier he was saying, this area had more deaths because obviously it has a lower vaccination status.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of different factors that differentiate this area from other areas. Other than that, so if you just have case and just have infection and you just have hospitalization and death, and then separately from that you have vaccination data, it's easy to say, well, there's a correlation here, or not a correlation, but there's a lot of different things like age ranges, and not to mention the thing that really gets me is that most of the people who die are over age 65, which is 99% vaccinated in almost every geographical area over 65.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that their information is bad. I'm not saying that they're what I'm saying is they're not given enough information to make real determinations. But they're not making determinations either. They're hinting at determinations for people to make. Like, oh well, it seems to me like more of these things where we're giving you information to lead you to a certain predetermined outcome based on the information we're giving you, but we're not going to actually tell you that you have to say if getting this medication is the outcome that we're going for. We're not going to come right out and tell you to get the medication. We're going to give you statistics that push you in that direction if you interpret the statistics at face value rather than asking any more questions about them. So we see a lot of that in all the things that we've been talking about, but especially with the case numbers. They were talking about how the case numbers are going to go way up, and we're seeing them go up in urban areas which are more vaccinated. And he's saying, well, that's definitely a indication that we're going to be getting them here. Well, I don't follow that logic. We very well may, but
it eventually would.
I guess. See, well, I mean, I follow the logic in that they're spreading in the population centers, right? Mm-hmm. But what I don't follow is how us all having our shots is going to help if it's not helping the spread in the urban centers. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting at.
My red flag, and I besides what was it? Rahm Emanuel said, "Never let a good disaster go to waste," or something like that.
Yeah.
No denying anything. My issue is, like, how incompetent you have to be. Like, me as a Carter County boy knows that if you're going to appropriately get the tests out, what you do is you distribute them to the health departments, and because like they're saying that people just need them without following my logic. How they're going to argue it is people need tests, but they don't need to leave their house to go get them from the health department. But don't you still need to let the local governments handle all that stuff? Because there's so many red flags that go off just about the way things are handled that let me know that they don't care about the people. They just care about how they can look like they care enough about people to where after they get done raking all the money, they can shirk the blame enough to not get hanged or something, you know?
Well, and ultimately, especially local politicians, they want to be liked. That's ultimately where it comes down to you getting reelected as a local politician, and that's where you have to face the people that you know and in your community. Mm-hmm. You want people to feel like you did a good job, and you want people to like you.
I don't think, nor should I think we should be asking any of the local guys yet, because I think coming on a show will cause them issues until we have like an actual following, like they're going to fall into for it to matter. Mm-hmm. I do think it would be interesting to maybe have people that represent, to like maybe take a side on which candidates they maybe support, you know? Like, who is it? Danny Ward and Mike Enzer for, is it mayor?
They're running for mayor.
Is there a third candidate maybe?
Seems like there was one more. That's the ones I keep seeing though. I left out one. Tom Smith is also running for sheriff. Tom Smith, Kim Birchfield, Rocky Croy, Mike Fraley, and Dexter Lunsford is the incumbent.
That's so a lot of people.
Got a lot of people to pick from, yeah. But what you were saying, you'd like to have them on, but
I don't like. For example, I used to work with Danny, mm-hmm. and AC was obviously a teacher of mine, so mm-hmm. I don't want to have beef with either of those dudes. So I don't really want to go, because people take politics so personally.
They do.
You know what I'm saying? But I do think it would be interesting to have somebody that really has decided who they're voting for, and maybe just ask them.
I would like to have Danny or AC on, and I'd like to have all the sheriff's candidates on. And I'd like to, I actually know both of those guys too. Just I've interacted with Danny. Of course, he's the manager of Food City and
assistant manager.
Yeah. So everybody,
he's been with that company a long time.
Everybody's seen Danny down there, but he's also I've talked with him on the school board too. And he's been responsive when I've dealt with him on school board issues, mm-hmm. and I actually went and spoke to the school board over the mask mandate several times over the last year and about in-person schooling, and Danny was receptive to me. I won't say that he at least listened to my concerns. You know, he listened to everybody's concerns, and I think Danny's one of those guys who will try to do the best job he can, but. I don't know that he's I'm looking for somebody who believes something and stands for something, and that's who
I'm looking for a candidate that will spend his entire time in office being speculated on for animal shelters. Here's my I can't really judge Mike that well because like I was an asshole kid at the time.
Yeah.
And like I liked and disliked all my teachers simultaneously, so I can't really say anything about it. So I honestly would have to actually talk to Mike Enzer about his real stance and stuff. I don't know if Danny's a Republican or a Democrat. My only experience with Danny Ward is I worked with him in the grocery store, and I think if you can, I don't know if you could run a grocery store, if you can also run a tiny town.
Yeah.
But if you could, that means
I'd say there's a lot of similarities. I'd say that Food City probably runs more efficiently most of the time.
It is per manager. Oh no, actually, for anybody that cares about groceries, a smaller store is actually way harder to run because of cost control.
Mm.
It's a nightmare for perishable stuff. The one in Elizabethton is honestly so busy, and I'm sure the Walmart and all those stores, because Ingles was the same way. They almost run themselves because the business just keeps it going. I imagine like Pigeon Forge and those sorts of stores would just be, you would have no waste. It just keeps pumping out.
Just theft. Imagine in Pigeon
Present
Forge.
everywhere, though, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think, there's...
The only thing bad to say about anybody is what I'm saying with the mayors before you continue.
No, I don't either.
They seem both okay.
I feel like Danny, he did a good job at addressing my concerns.
Well, if we actually had like positions, I actually would be interested in seeing like if we asked them a position. This is going to sound, I guess, petty. But I guess I am just petty. Maybe that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Danny said that one of his stances was he wanted to take people mowing into the yard mowing their grass into the road more seriously. And I actually agree because there's so many... Dude, guys, it is so... If you do that, stop. It is so easy to mow your yard 3 or 4 swaps in the other direction and not risk getting charged with manslaughter when a motorcyclist comes through.
Yeah,
it happens everywhere around here, dude.
That's not a thing I'm really like... I don't think of that as really like...
No, it's not. But as petty as that is, I swear to heavens, I just think if a cop drives by somebody's house and they see 4 feet of shaven grass in the road, maybe knock on the door and say, "Hey, buddy, you need to bring a broom out here."
No, I find that annoying too, and I do always keep my grass out of the road because you're right, that is dangerous.
It's a hazard. We've got a lot of motorcycles.
I've ridden motorcycles my whole life, and I'm always on the lookout for stuff like that.
It's so easy to avoid. Just don't go the direction for 4 stops.
And you know, if we were on that, I would everybody at work saw me this weekend. Go off on your pals, you people and your pals. I love pals.
Wind up on the road.
I love pals, don't get me wrong. But damn, man, y'all got to quit blocking traffic. Go get you something else or swing back around because rush hour at 7 a.m. going through Gray or going through Elizabeth and you got traffic backed up through 2 lights because you got to have some damn cheddar-rounds.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Also, not a more mayoral concern.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But that's kind of the same thing. Both could cause a hazard. Everybody be more responsible. Don't mow your grass.
See how easy it is to get rid of government though when you do that. If everybody went, okay, we're not going to mow into the yards, and then none of the mayors have to go, all right, we need to adjust this. Yeah. If everybody would just not do that, so many problems would just go away. And I think that's unreasonable.
I think it is too.
Expect of people.
But you know, I'm a lot bigger fan of having. If you have to have government force, I'm a much bigger fan of having it close to you, where you can actually get together with your community and vote to change it if it doesn't affect you in a way that you would like, to change it to a way that affects you more positively and still benefits your community. I'm a big fan of people getting together on local levels and solving these problems, rather than going to Nashville or going to Washington, D.C. To have those things done.
Well, you also had I guess a quick dip back into our local stuff, our year in review that we were doing. You did 2 episodes on law enforcement, and that comes right back to that thing. I really think that all problems should be solved on a local level.
Yeah.
Until they can't, I guess.
I agree, because, again, with the law enforcement, we didn't really have like a huge problem. Like
there was that Cover Bridge incident but that was
sprung,
literally a bunch of people screaming at each other.
Yeah,
I wasn't there,
and that all sprung from the media attention that came from the issue in Minneapolis, which was really a local Minneapolis issue. Now, you could argue, I guess, that and plenty of people do, that systemic racism nationwide is what causes these kind of problems. Uh, I really think that's a show for another day.
I would like to,
but
I would like to have a discussion on that one someday. Just because I really, as a honky, really feel like I've put some thought into this, and I'm not going to do it right now. Just because I think people would be surprised.
It'd be a long episode.
I think people would be surprised in my determination. Well, maybe not. I'm kind of fruity, but go ahead.
Well, we also talked about the Great Reset and what that entails.
Well, we've been dipping into that one a couple of times.
Yeah. We that's been a recurring theme on the show. So we'll be looking more into that because we are still going through the steps of this, and again, the cyber scramble, cyber pandemic, and hack attack. Those are the next stages in the scenarios for future technologies from the Rockefeller Institute back in 2010, of which Operation Lockstep, which we've just gone through, has been a part. The next phases in it are the hack attack and the cyber scramble. So we're going to be looking into those going forward, and that was kind of one of those things that I wanted to talk with Nuga Jack about tonight, because Chattanooga is one of the World Economic Forum 50 worldwide cities that they're sanctioning and sponsoring for smart cities. Part of the Great Reset includes everything going back to zero, basically. Zeroing the economy out, zeroing manufacturing out, zeroing industry out. Part of the way that they're doing that is by disrupting the supply chain, disrupting global trade, shutting down borders, shutting down economies. I think another part of that is what's coming next with people quitting their jobs over the federal vaccine mandates. Yeah, I think that's going to be the next step in really shutting down everything, because you're going to have people, 20 to 30%, up to 40% of some workforces are going to be quitting. It may not sound like that huge of a number but when you're talking about large companies, that's a big deal. Especially if we have a surge of sick people and you have a bunch of nurses quit. So I think the idea is, in order to build back better, in order to have a great reset, everything has to get
I think the
crashed.
caste system, now that I really think about that, okay, I've had quite a few people tell me, yeah, I got vaccinated, didn't want to, but I saw where this is going, and I just didn't, just did it. And my thought process there is, a lot of people are eventually either going to do it
to avoid the pain
or not, and I think this is almost like a purging. As weird as it sounds, it's okay for a goofy musician like myself to say stuff online and to have, I don't know, live out in the land of fantasy and just be an entertainer and that sort of thing. But people that have jobs where people look up to them and they've got people to feed, and a lot of people aren't going to resist on that level and to be an asshole and I really think a lot of the people are LARPing on a level, and I really honestly think a lot of the opposition on that side, as I know a lot of people don't like this because a lot of people, they enjoy the black pill, they think it goes down smooth. I really think a lot of this reset stuff is more to give people a black mirror to stare into. That way when it comes time, they know there's going to be a pullback. But I think they know we're population heavy. I think they know we got to dump some things. We're going to empty New York and Jersey and California so we can upgrade them. Because at the same time, while everybody's out, there's cranes everywhere in these places. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about a lot of that stuff, but I refuse to. Somewhere a couple of weeks ago, I accidentally swallowed a white pill, and I really just don't. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty.
Dude,
but
I'm super white pilled on the whole thing.
Are you? That's
I
good.
Really am. You would think I'd be black pilled.
No, I think you're realistic.
Which we're talking about, the black pill and the white pill. Everybody I think knows the red pill and the blue pill from the Matrix movies. You know, if you take the blue pill, you go back to sleep and you never find out what's really going on. If you take the red pill, you wake up and you find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Well, beyond that, when you get into
Tammy,
the red pill and when you get past the red pill and the blue pill, there's the white pill and the black pill.
I ain't gonna type Tammy because it makes too much noise. But woot woot in the poot poot.
Hi, Tammy. Woot woot in the poot poot.
Tammy, put it in the chat right now. Who you supporting for local mayor or F them both? Which one?
Or you don't care. Who cares?
I know we're like 5 or 6 seconds behind.
But yeah, they're woot woot in the poot poot, as Tim said. But back when we're getting into this to the reset, that's something we're going to be looking at going forward in this show.
Tammy Campbell. Never mind, I got that name mixed up. I'm sorry, Tammy. I'll say my mind just automatically went to
the poop poop. Repeat. Don't woot poop poop.
My mind automatically went to Hubbard. Who knows? Tommy Campbell. God, I'm so blind. Is that Tammy or Tommy?
That says Tammy Campbell. Yeah.
Sorry, Tammy.
It says hello. Tammy says hello, Timothy.
Yeah, I automatically went to.
Well, it's good to see you with us, Tammy. Please don't hesitate to drop in. She says not voting.
Not voting.
Now I can understand that.
Yeah.
I can see that Tammy may have taken the black pill, which is the more cynical view. No. The black pill is kind of the view a lot of people have, which is that there's really no point in voting. There's no hope. Which I don't mean that not that there's no point in voting. Just that there's no hope.
It is.
Okay.
All right.
So a lot of people have the black pill that there's no hope, and the white pill.
White people.
The white pill people are hopeful on things. I'm kind of tend to be more hopeful. One of the reasons that I am hopeful is because I see the amount of propaganda and programming that's being put out against us, and I think if we weren't quite a force to be reckoned with, and there still weren't a long way to go for these people, then the propaganda would not be necessary. And I also see that whether you think the shots are a good thing or a bad thing, you have to admit the amount of propaganda that has gone out in favor of them there's nothing ever touched it in the history of mankind. I can't think of anything as far as state and corporate programming. I'm just saying state and corporate programming, putting out messages in order to get this shot and to force people, not to force them, but to scare you into thinking that you're going to be forced, and that basically it's not compulsion, but it's like threat of compulsion. But so many people have decided not to do it in the face of that. In our area in particular, we are about 38% vaccinated in the Tri-Cities, according to WJHL this past weekend. So that's the most ruthless onslaught of corporate and state propaganda that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Even worse than the War on Terror propaganda is to get vaccinated.
Man, I'm trying to go back to the War on Terror and just remember what that was like growing up as a kid. I mean, like, they really had, like, literally every bad guy had a turban on.
Mm-hmm.
And was going bim salabim and doing, like, really, like, and that is just, like, looking back on that, it's like, holy, like, just what level of that was, it really makes you wonder, like, looking back, what they're currently doing, and it's really hard for me not to see that all the time, and it really does call back to, like, growing up in just, like, a very, I'm going to say active, to be friendly, Pentecostal church.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just kind of see how the services were. And a lot of times it really was a push and pull of people's emotions. What do we need them to do? What do we do here? And it was always just this theater of the round that would be in these churches, because I went to a lot of different churches. And it made me very curious, even then as a kid. You can't speak out, of course, to the adults. But just wondering why God needs a man so of that persuasion to do certain things, and why does God need strings pulled behind the curtains, and then why do we have to say that God pulled through in front of the congregation when you know some of the funds came from somewhere else? And it really seemed like a lot of theater. And I have to think that if because I don't think all churches are bad. I recognize that there's a level of that, but when there's the ability for bad people to take advantage of a system they're going to,
mm-hmm.
and man, I've been on the fringes of the music industry my whole life, and I can tell you, people, it's the devil. It really is the devil, and I can only imagine that the like film and that sort of thing is still.
Well, I mean, the Hotel California song was not, a glamorizing, even though it may sound like that to the untrained ear. was not glamorizing the California lifestyle, and there's a lot of that negativity that comes in from both of those ways, from entertainment, from
Tammy likes the Eagles. Tell us about Don Henley while we're talking, Tammy.
Don Felder actually wrote that song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Don Felder was kind of one of the lesser known Eagles, and he wrote that. The Hotel California guitar chords sitting in his empty swimming pool, playing his 12-string guitar.
Do you believe well, I guess subscribe would be a better word, to the theory that it was about the influence and the birth of the Church of Satan, or do you think it was mostly about Hollywood and what kind of a dungeon it can be?
I don't really know. I mean, I guess it could be both realistically, but I would say I tend to think it's more about Hollywood. They were younger guys at the time.
I guess if they didn't have
they'd been sucked in.
Was it? They had Aleister Crowley in the window of the Hotel California album. Is that
I don't
right?
know about that. I've got the album somewhere here.
Do you?
I moved it out of here.
It's either Aleister Crowley or Anton LaVey. I don't remember. One of them is in the window of the hotel on that album, and so I know they had exposure to Crowleyism or Satanism. Or
Yeah.
Do as thou willst. Don Henley, satanic. There you go, Tammy.
Yeah, I think she's right as far as that Hotel California being about the satanic influence in Hollywood. I mean, you've had a lot of people come out about it and say that there was a guy named John Todd, Todd. He came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. He said his name was Lance Collins, was his original name.
Lance Collins.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think he worked for Atlantic Records, and he came out and said basically that all of Hollywood was, even the music that you didn't even think was satanic was actually satanic, and that they would do these rituals on all these masters of the recordings. Each studio, apparently, he said, had a temple room where they would take the master recording and go do all these summonings and draw these demons into him or whatever.
Know who Mark Passio is by any chance?
I've never heard of him.
Mark Passio, I like Mark Passio for the info. He's a little long-winded. Sorry, Mark, if you find it.
We are too.
We are too, but Mark will stretch 45 minutes into 5 hours.
Yeah.
But it's because he's super passionate. And he talks about how he was a part of the dark arts at one point, and he said for people who don't believe that the dark arts are real from, I guess, a spiritual perspective, his view on it is it doesn't necessarily have to be, because when you get a number of people together, the point of all the rituals and stuff is a lot of those people don't necessarily believe what they're doing has its way.
Energy.
But if you can get everybody on the same page to do some really crazy stuff like burning candles and stuff, you're probably all going to follow through on your commitment to this thing. And I do think there is something to that getting everybody into a hive mind groove, you know.
And we did mention that earlier in the year. We talked about selling our soul to the devil as musicians. We talked about the 27 Club. To get back into the white pill and the black pill, though. Whether or not the shots are a good thing, I tend to, after I withheld my opinion for a long time. I didn't really have an opinion. I wanted to make up my mind
for a long time.
I do feel like that there is a lot of negative effects coming from now. That's kind of without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not going to say that they hadn't helped some people, because I don't know. But whether or not you think those are a good or bad thing, my white pill comes from the fact that over 60% of people in our area resisted the largest propaganda onslaught in all time to get these medications administered to them. So that gives me a lot of hope right there. I've never seen anything like the push to get this stuff. I've never seen anything like this push from going to your local business to your
giving away trucks.
Yeah, all the way up to the federal government, to the World Health Organization. Everybody, your national news. You look at freaking Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon. And they've got or Stephen Colbert. He's got needles.
God, I don't count him.
Needles dancing around
It really does remind you of V for Vendetta.
Yeah, it really
they had
does.
all the caricatures and stuff of the way how the late night comedy show was not even comedy anymore.
It was just propaganda.
It was the lamb, the goat face that we talked about. 2 Minutes of Hate from 1984. And man, if you guys are on the left, and I'm pretty on the left myself, stop watching that. They're just trying to piss you off. It's just what's it, rage bait, where you at least you feel something. At least I'm stuck inside all day. So when I watch these guys blaming something, at least I have an outlet for my anger. So it gives you permission to project. And as a dropout of psychology, you need to train yourself to not project, because that's you never deal with your problems that way. And I think they're taking advantage of people by doing that, because they know everybody's pinned and not feeling good. And then Trevor Noah comes on there and says something real smart, and he can wrap it up and just like that. And it's they're just making it. You're damn right, and the Republicans are doing it too. And
I don't know. I mean, they are to a degree.
They are at least they're
when we talked about Elon earlier, I was talking about him coming on the Babylon Bee, and he mentioned that he used to like the Onion, and I was like right there with you. But it's
you know the story of that, don't you?
They became afraid to make fun of left people,
They got bought out.
Well, Saturday Night Live did the same thing. Like, I used to love Saturday Night Live. They would make fun of Bill Clinton just as much as they made of George H.W. Bush. They made fun of George W. Bush. They made fun of Barack Obama, even though it was less. That was about when it kind of stopped being okay to make fun of the left. But the idea that he was talking about is we don't get...
got the shot, then 12 days later,
COVID. Yeah, unfortunately, I see a lot of people getting that too. It does make your body create the spike protein, which can give you a lot of the symptoms of COVID, according to the experts.
Well, what I've heard is we give you a milder amount, so when you get it later, it doesn't affect you as badly. My issue with all this still remains. I always look to motive. Like, you can use something that is sincere. Oh, like right now, Lori Lightfoot, the Chicago mayor, she's calling in the federal. She wants the feds to come in to keep the guns out of the city. That's what she's calling for, right?
Chicago has the strictest gun control laws in the country.
And she's saying that the guns are still finding their way in. And how has everybody not looked at Lori Lightfoot and realized she's a gremlin yet? That is a monster of a person.
Man. I don't know.
Why would you let that person... Like, the part about movies that cracks me up the most is how the villain is always just right there the whole time.
And you're like, how do they not know?
Like, you're like, from moment one, spoiler alert, you know who the killer in Scream is, right? Yeah. You're just like, he's right there. And, like, you're looking at, like, Lori Lightfoot, and you're going, you don't know you elected a lunatic? Yeah. It's like, even if you're as far left as you can get, you don't recognize that that's a crazy person?
Yeah, for real.
That's the same kind of feeling I would get from, like, when you'd see... what was his name back in the day? A lot of Joel Osteen. That's a good one. I can't think the other dudes yet, but Joel Osteen's got those crazy eyes, and he's got those big polished, like he like sandpapers his teeth to get him to have that much sheen to him. And
yeah, if you were watching a movie, he would definitely be the crazy creature.
He is Patrick Swayze and Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Like I don't see how people don't see it.
And it reminds me of oh gosh, no, you gave me that. That's a perfect analogy. I was thinking of. I mean, he's a politician, but in The Dead Zone by Stephen King, the old movie, Christopher Walken plays him. But anyway,
like, how do people not know Jimmy Savile was raping kids? Yeah. It just, the bad guy is always so obvious to me, and it just never matters if they're on the right or on the left.
Who also, we talked about, she was, sorry to touch your leg, Tim.
Behind the scenes of the Iron Mountain Hour.
We were talking about how Jimmy Savile was knighted by the Queen. He had dinner with her all the time. Well, there was just in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, there was a picture of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on a cabin that was on the Queen's private grounds, owned by the Queen. Oh. So there's yet another connection to royalty. So that's why I am white-pilled. It's not because I'm making a judgment on anybody whether they made the right or the wrong decision to get any kind of medication or made any medical decision they made. A lot of people had a hard choice and they made it, and I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But what I'm saying is that if it were up to the propagandists, we would have 100% rate on that, and we have a 38% rate. And they tried with everything that they could muster to get us to that 100% rate. And some of us just dug in and said, hell no. And that is a white pill moment for me, because that shows that there was at least 62% of us in this area that are not subject, are not swayed by constant propaganda. Now, that number may be even higher because some people probably got it for a good reason. Their doctor told them to. They had health issues that said, this is going to be a better choice for me. So maybe it wasn't the propaganda necessarily for those people. So it may be even higher than that. But that's why I'm white-pilled about it. And another reason I'm white-pilled about it is you see a lot of movement going on in local areas of state and regional areas of local parties, whether it be Democrat or Republican. You're seeing small activists get a bigger place in that party, and they're saying, look, the people who are going to Washington, who are going to Nashville, are not representing us, so we're going to step in and bring our views to the table and look at what people in our areas and who live in these communities really want, and try to take that to Washington, and try to take that to Nashville, and try to take that to the local school board meeting, or the local county commission, or whatever it may be, to the state house.
What if we ran Cliff from the Iron Mountain hour for Carter County Mayor?
I'd probably rather be the sheriff if I was running for anything.
Well, yeah, I guess we can get you in there.
Because we did the episodes talking about law enforcement, and
that would be your.
I might end up like the dog that caught the car that he was catching, but I believe the purpose of the sheriff and the purpose of law enforcement is to protect the rights of its citizens. Mm-hmm. And we lay out the rights, the Declaration of Rights in our state constitution in Tennessee, and we lay out the Bill of Rights in the federal constitution. And those are not all the rights that we're guaranteed as human beings. That's not all the rights that I think I have, but that's the rights that the government will not violate. And we've said, hey, these are rules for the government. They're not restrictions on us. They're not saying that's our only rights. It's just saying these particular things we've decided the government's not allowed to do, not allowed to violate. So if I were the sheriff, that would be my...
We can make it happen, folks.
That would be my prerogative, would be to protect the rights of the citizens from the federal government, the state government, or the local government, and from any other citizens who might want to violate their rights. If you're not doing that, then I don't think you're doing your job as a sheriff, and I don't have the name recognition, so there's no way I'm going to be a sheriff. I don't have any law enforcement
5-year plan, folks.
Recognition, yeah, but that's the way I would go with it. And I know it's not an easy job, so don't get me wrong, but I do intend to try to have the sheriff candidates on here. I'm going to invite them anyway. Whether or not they'll do it,
we can meet them.
Is another story. Yeah, we could do a Skype. We could do a live interview. We could do an on-the-spot interview. I'll go down to their office if they want to do it. However they want to do it, I'll do what I can to get them on, and maybe we'll get lucky and get that happening.
Oh, that'd be an interesting, kind of like you did for Halloween. If you just went and did, if they wouldn't agree to come on and do this sort of a format, which I think as a politician you would want this, because you can really, if you're not full of crap, this is the way to get your point across.
And that's the beautiful thing about long form podcasting. That's the beautiful thing about Joe Rogan. That's what's great about
There's a beautiful thing about Joe Rogan.
And it's not just his body, because that man is fit. For a 50-year-old man, he's in great shape, is what I'm saying. But no, there's a lot of good things about that long form podcast format, because, like you said, if you're not full of shit, you should be able to come on there and hash out your ideas and explain them. And even if you don't convince everybody that you're right, you can at least show that you're sincere and show that you're there for a good reason other than trying to get rich or trying to get some power. And I think this is a good way to do it. But like you said, if they're not able to do that, maybe they can't find the time. Particularly for the sheriff right now, I'm sure he's quite busy, and I'm sure the other guys are campaigning. So, if that doesn't work out for them to come in here and join us, maybe they will give us a pre-recorded interview, and we can do 5 to 10 minutes with them at least, and kind of ask them those questions. One of the things I intend to ask is I want to know if there is federal or state gun confiscation or vaccination mandations or any kind of mandates or any kind of kind of federal or state overreach, in my opinion, would the sheriff exercise his authority to resist that, and would he protect his citizens from that, up to and including deputizing the citizens to resist that? Because that's kind of the job of the citizen or the sheriff, in my opinion. And that's where
I think it would get down to this level before it got down to state, though.
Well, I would hope the state guard would do their job, and then the governor would do his job in doing that. But you never can tell. I feel like Governor Lee has done some okay things.
Hey, I guess this is a note I'd like to say about my candidates and stuff like that. I don't assume any of my candidates are good people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're there as human beings to where as long as a job is available to you, it's going to attract. Well, especially by the time you're as old as Biden, even like if, like how many years does it take for you? How long? Like, can you imagine how old? Like, they want presidents to be saints, I guess is what you're saying, and I'm okay with people not being saints if they're willing to do the right thing now that they're 80 and now that they've got control of the biggest ship on the planet, Earth, or America, if I'm being overblown. I don't expect people to be perfect in their. I mean, like, I feel like I'm just now starting to get to where I'm pretty cool with myself.
Yeah,
I'm getting real close to the 4.0, you know.
I'm always learning, yeah, and as you get older, it's kind of a series of learning how you fucked up in the past and moving on from there and building on that. So I definitely understand how people get to 80 years old and have not been saints, but at the same time, I look at somebody, you mentioned Joe Biden.
Well, I'm just saying
particular.
Biden just because he's old. I didn't want to say Trump because that's automatically rage-inducing for the other part.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think the is it litmus, is that the correct word? I think that the test for how the qualifications for how somebody, for now you're going to lead. I don't think anybody can live. They want like the Messiah to do everything.
Well,
now,
I think we saw a lot of that when Trump was in office. A lot of the people on the right, people on the left were quick to criticize Trump and say, how can you people on the right who have been so religiously driven for so long, or how are you willing to follow somebody like Donald Trump, who's obviously said and done so many horrible things publicly? And the people on the right brought up the fact that in the Bible you had guys like David, who was a murdering adulterer, you know, and you had Saul or Solomon, who he murdered like 40 guys to settle a bet. You know.
Well, then you had Saul, who tried to kill David. I think that's an interesting part. Most Christians will never bring up the idea of talking to ghosts and stuff.
Well, Solomon was all about that.
But there's a part of the Old Testament where Saul doesn't know what to do when he's chasing David. And he goes and he conjures up, I want to say it's like Elijah, I don't remember which one. He conjures his spirit up. Maybe it was Samuel. He conjures one of these guys' spirit up, and the guy's like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be conjuring ghosts. It's illegal. You're the king. You're the one that made it illegal in the land to do this stuff.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's in the Old Testament. I'll have to find it.
Well, I know Solomon, he actually wrote the Lesser Goetia and the Greater Key for summoning demons of the 72 demons.
I know Solomon was into what they call, I guess, to really narrow it down, it would be the Kabbalion, or how do you say that?
Well, all the basic the diagrams that you draw that represent the demons of the Lesser Key and the Kabbalah, those come from Solomon. All the rituals that people use in modern black magic come from Solomon, and his invocation of demons and angels. He had a special ring and had the Temple of Solomon, you know, that is been waited for by so many religions to herald the coming of the end time. That Solomon was definitely not a perfect guy, but he's well regarded by Christians and Jews alike as a very important tool of God. So I think that's...
Well, Ecclesiastes is probably, in my opinion, the best book in the Bible. And that's one of the Solomon books. But I think Ecclesiastes is almost like what would you call that particular sect of the world's view of Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the idea of we call it Buddhism, but Buddhism is like a streamlined version of Hinduism, essentially.
And it's all kind of, and it's kind of the same thing that Jesus taught too.
But
If you take away the dogma and you take away the ritual,
it's the idea of the reaching that level of mindset where you can equally see everybody for their goods and their bads and kind of ascend above it. And I think that's what Ecclesiastes is all about when it's just saying, vanity to vanity is chasing after wind. It's the whole book is just about how you're going to live and you're going to die, and there's nothing you can do about that, and you just got to make the best of that, of your time on Earth. And I think that's a very sobering book. I first really understood it when I was about 19, and it really depressed me. No, I was about 17. And it really depressed me because I thought the book was saying life is in vain, so don't even try. Because that's how an adolescent, overdramatic kid is going to read that.
Yeah.
But now looking back on it now, it's just kind of like, that's kind of freeing, actually, to know that this really might not matter as much as we think it does.
Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. And there's a lot to that. I think, modern science even thinks we may be living in a simulation. And when you kind of think of it, and when I try to explain, like, to my kids, for example, we had a dog just die a little while ago. And you try to explain to them that the dog is still in their heart, that your spirit is still connected with this. And it's almost like there's this place where all the spirits are together, but we come individually into these suits that are our bodies in order to interact with this world. Mm-hmm. But when it's all over, our soul, our spirit goes back to the source. And So it kind of does lend credence to the idea that life is just a dream. The more we find out scientifically, the more we, all the things that we've learned religiously, and then we have the Matrix that kind of follows up on that idea a little bit more. And I think there's something to it.
Do you think the idea of, like, when we say it's a simulation, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I think our idea of a simulation, I guess, if we use the metaverse, if we said that, I think, in my opinion, the metaverse is a simulation, right?
Right. Metaverse is all the way down.
Right.
Turtles all the way down.
Yeah. I think so. Few people understand that statement. Like, I feel like the word simulation doesn't do it justice.
Well, I think,
I feel like it's a cheap word. I feel it's almost like the word placebo. We say it's just the placebo. And I had a professor, rest in peace, Dula. He even said that he was like, I think you guys need to quit discounting the placebo effect because we put the just word in front of it. He said, it's just the placebo effect. He said, but think about what you just said. You mean our body heals itself 30% of the time, and we're discounting that?
Just the effect is exactly the same as the medication we take without taking the medication.
It's the ability. A lot of these people in psychology, unfortunately, and I think that's why I was so attracted to it, people that are really good at psychology, including Jung and all those guys, they also have a little bit of the batshits in them. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for a lot of them, they do teeter on on which way they can go with it. And there was a guy named Bob Lipton back in the 70s, and he's one of the forefathers of what's called epigenetics. And he was one of the people that he wrote an article or a book or something called The Power of Belief. And then he took a real Ram Dass turn and just went way out into the, like, he decided, trippy people like me, let's just do that, and became more of a motivational speaker. But once upon a time, he was a reputable scientist, and he discovered the idea that if you believe something, your body reprograms itself and gets rid of it. And I think a lot of it comes down to, if you believe that you are, for example, terminally ill, and I'm not saying that you don't really have cancer because you worked at Exide Chemicals or something and it burns you up. I'm saying, if you believe you're sick, your body will adjust itself accordingly.
Well, it's like Munchausen's disease and Munchausen by proxy disease.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has to do with like selective cell death. You ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. And like when a cell knows it's no longer needed or feels useful, it will just die. Yeah. And I'm wondering if on a larger level, if we as people, if when we don't feel like we have a purpose, or maybe if we don't feel like we're needed, or if we don't have any of that stuff, or a reason to be in this simulation, that if our body doesn't just start giving us what we want, like, you don't want to be here, I'm going to shut you down because you're taking up resources from the hive.
That's like Munchausen's, when a person might believe they are being sick to get attention, but by acting sick and the attention that they get, the feedback loop actually causes them to become sick and deteriorate physically. So it's something that they start maybe doing consciously, somewhat consciously, that turns into something that affects them. I'm sure you've heard of it.
A
psychology dropout.
A good explanation.
And people actually bring this on to their children with Munchausen by proxy, and the child can actually begin to have physical symptoms from the mental effects of the mother's treatment. In most cases,
I think a lot of that is based in narcissism. Actually. I would love. I guess one of these days I would love to have. I feel wrong telling people about psychology because I don't have a degree. But I spent a lot of time studying psychology, just not for the degree, because it really has fascinated ever since I was a kid, watching how people behave.
Well, I'd rather learn about it from somebody who's studied it in that manner rather than somebody who's studied it to get a
When
degree.
I felt like I had what I needed, I dropped out. And I know that sounds crazy because I realized what my job was going to be was not something that was going to make me happy. There's a lot in psychology I felt like that if you just knew it would help you avoid some pitfalls. That's why I would like to tell some people stuff, because that's why I wanted to learn it. I was like, I seem to be having a really rough go of things. I think if I could learn a few life hacks, it might be better for me.
Well, let's finish up this episode by going over the new laws set to take place in Tennessee and Virginia over the next little bit here.
Sounds like a plan.
So we get into this story from WJHL. As much as I rag on WJHL, they do provide some useful information.
Okay.
And they're pretty good for stuff as far as, like stuff like this, new laws, whatever may be, election results, crime reports, and things like that. They do have a legitimate purpose. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the stories they choose to promote and not promote, but at the same time, they are a good resource for a lot of things. So one thing that is starting in Tennessee is the teacher discipline law. And if you look right here on House Bill 2134, actually we won't go into that way. We'll just read you the summary here because we're getting late of time. It allows teachers to remove students who cause repeated disruptions from the classroom, which I'm all for. If you got a good teacher, allowing them to control their classroom, and if you got a kid causing a lot of trouble, get them out of there and get them to somewhere where they can get some help, because there's a reason they're causing that trouble, and that's a cry for help. Get them somewhere where you can actually get them what they need and not disrupt the class and let that class learn. You got House Bill 0419, which adds chiropractic services to the list of healthcare services that may be covered by TennCare, as long as they're provided by an authorized TennCare provider. Now, HB 0870 deals with restitution for victims of crime. Actually, I think this is a pretty good one here, because that actually causes, if you've committed a crime in Tennessee and there's a victim of that crime, you have to pay the victim their restitution before you start paying money to the state.
Gotcha.
I'm great with that.
Oh, yeah.
The state gets plenty of money. The victims of those crimes are not getting a lot of money. So, good for them. I'm all with that. I hope there's more. I hope there's not more to it than that. There's a lot of poison pills with a lot of these things, but maybe that's not it. The election law, it's going to disallow the convenient voting centers that did not use early satellite voting centers. So, not sure exactly what that means, other than it sounds like they're going to have less places that you can go and vote this year, because they had a lot of extra with coronavirus, so that people could get to an area closer to them and not be as crowded. So they're going to be doing away with those.
Jesus, look at that last one.
Now this one, actually, I've been on this one for years, because me and my brother, for I don't know how many, at least 10 years. I know we were in our 20s when we were talking about this, but we had an idea for a business called Brew for You Home Delivery. And this was back before, no, it had to be like 15 years ago, because it was when not everything was on the internet. And so I went down to the Elizabeth and Carter County Public Library, and I did an afternoon of research to find out if this would actually be legal for us to do this. And I came to the conclusion that no, you cannot deliver alcohol to someone's front door in Tennessee. Now you can just Google that and find that out. Back then, I had to spend, like I said, several hours looking into it. But they are clearing the way for wine to be delivered to people's homes. To me, it never made sense. Why would you want people not to be able to get more beer to their home? Why would you want them to get into the car and go out and buy more? Obviously,
makes sense to me too. You don't want drunk drivers.
Exactly.
And drunken people obviously are going to have clear thoughts.
And when people party at home, they're going to want more. And wouldn't it be better for them to call somebody, pay them to have them deliver that to the house? You're also having a business. You're enriching someone else who's making this delivery. You're giving someone a job. You're keeping people off the road. It's a win-win-win. The party gets to keep going on. We all don't have... no, I won't say that because...
You think the wine is like an introductory step? Because in my opinion, wine and liquor, that's not that giant of a step.
No, I mean, yeah, I agree. And people used to say, we didn't have the liquor stores here in Elizabeth for the longest time. And people would say, oh, it's going to be awful. Everybody's going to be drunk all the time. But the more reasonable of us would say, well, everybody's going to Johnson City.
I mean, you'd literally drive across the Johnson County line, or Johnson City line, right next to the big Roaster's Chicken. There's two liquor stores, the one stop and then the other one down there. That's
they moved the one stop. I guess the Parkway is the only one there now. Unibluffer says DUI is a big revenue generator. He's right about that. They got to keep that money coming in. The courts do make a lot of money on that. I think you get $10,000 for your average DUI that costs you. We were talking about the cops, and one thing that didn't come up last month was we were talking about the insurance law.
Man, I had a thought a long time ago, just like I had this idea that the only reason they were letting weed become legal in a lot of these places was because we were starting to slowly F people up with other things like prescription pills and I guess dipping back into that sort of thing. Do you think they're going to give up these DUI, or do you think there's just that many people out there that go party that it's not going to matter?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Do you think that's the people that would use it? Like, we're so drunk, we need more wine delivered? Do you think like a wine delivery service is for people who are just don't want to leave the house for themselves?
Yeah, I think so, because for people who don't want to leave the house, look at DoorDash. That's blowing up. Like, I have a friend, he went and did some DoorDash the other night during what he called the stoner hours from 9 to 4, and he made $125 in 4 hours. Of course, he had to put some gas back in his truck. But if you needed some quick cash, that's a good option. And I had another friend who does it regularly. This guy, he works full time with me, and he makes almost as much doing DoorDash a few hours a night as he does working. I mean, we make decent money where I work. We don't do too badly. And the DoorDash though, he's supplementing his income quite well. So I think people just don't want to leave the house, and if you're drunk, that's a good thing. And stay your ass at home.
I agree.
So that's a good thing. We got wine delivery. Hopefully we'll get back into we get to have liquor delivery and beer delivery and all that stuff. In Virginia, you got municipal elections and local government and school board elections. The date for those is moving from May to November. Oh, I'm on the wrong one here. So there we go. Now my stuff will come up here, I think. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Maybe not. Here we go. I don't know what happened there, but Virginia, they're moving their local government and school board elections from May to November, and they're raising the minimum coverage for drivers for insurance. And that's another one of those things, man. If you don't have insurance, who's that hurt other than you if everybody else has insurance?
So I guess the person you hit.
Well, yeah, but if they have insurance, I'm just that's another one of those things for the state to collect revenue. I feel like.
Yes,
And
but if I don't play devil's advocate,
yeah, if you don't play devil's advocate,
yeah,
who will? I will. I'll play devil's advocate. The minimum wage is going up from $9.50 to $11 an hour for Virginia, and they're also going to go up to $15 an hour by 2026. Most places, you see fast food and stuff starting at $10-11 an hour now.
They have to just because of the competition to get people.
And they're not really getting people to work there at that. So effectively, the market is setting the minimum wage. We're not really needing the government to set it, because if you're not paying,
you could fix fast food.
What?
And I can use some anecdotal, or I can use some actual research to show that this would work. Trader Joe's figured out that they could get their people to work a quarter, like 25% more, just by letting them wear a T-shirt.
Really?
Because there's something about us being in a stuffy uniform that if you just give little leeways here and there, people will actually work better because they feel like they're respected more. So fast food, I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't work fast food right now again for $15 an hour.
No.
Because it's fast-paced, almost like assembly line work, where you're definitely going to get hurt that day because everything burns you. Pulling apple pies out of a McDonald's oven still makes me angry, and making the chicken. It's just so much stuff. You feel like SpongeBob back there having a horrible day. And I feel like it's a really accurate thing. Like, you're back here flipping out. I get why Squibber's pissed off. He has to deal with the people. It's not worth it. The way they could fix fast food is to slow it down and stop making someone who's 19 years old think that getting his knuckles burnt every day at work is just a part of growing up. Because
But I want my fries!
I
want my fries!
Either slow it down, which you can't do because Hardee's tried that and it backfired on them. I think they need to shrink the menus like In-N-Out did and Pal's did in a couple of places. There's ways to fix it without.
Dude, you go through Pal's. I mean, you do get through there quick. So I guess that's why everybody feels like it's okay to block traffic.
I just
because
like
the line does move on.
Fast food places
quick.
punish their employees way too much, and there's ways to make people. There's ways to convince people to come out and work for that wage, and at the same time, I feel like they need to stop treating people. I know. They need to stop treating people the way you treat an Excel spreadsheet. Like, quit trying to minimize it. You can't keep trimming the fat off of people's time and yeah, so there's that.
No, I agree.
I know I just changed the course of history with that rant, and I feel good about it.
That's all right. I like it. No, I mean, if you want people that work for you to feel like working for you is worthwhile, you need to make them feel valued.
They're already doing something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Don't take their dignity in the process.
Personally, I don't mind necessarily a uniform. Of course, I go to people's houses, and wearing a uniform kind of lets me to identify myself.
The customer isn't always right when you walk up to do something like that. They need your help to come make things go away.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas, like, there's a guy who might be stocking groceries or something like that, or maybe he's running the line at a...
Yeah.
It does do something. Oh, I get to wear shorts this week? You know, it really does.
Yeah, no, I could see it in a situation like that.
Just a little morale boost is what I'm saying. And if you just did that across the entire company, you could get people to work for that amount because you're not taking something from them. That's what it's about. You're taking more from them than you're giving them is all it is.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And I think that goes right back to, it shows you, government's slow to act. There have been people asking for a $15 minimum wage for like 5 years now or longer. Government hasn't done it. The market has done it for the most part, except for we know certain jobs. Most things are paying $15 an hour now. I guess fast food and grocery may be the exception to that. And it'd be good.
No, it's catching up.
It is catching up in a lot of places.
It's just we don't see it around here because of our area.
Yeah.
We are in Appalachia.
But either way, it's moving faster than the government. So to close it out tonight, we talked about Elon Musk a lot. Elon Musk was on the Babylon Bee. Mm-hmm. He did a long-form interview with them on their podcast, and that was very entertaining, very interesting. If y'all want to check that out, just search the Elon Musk and Babylon Bee interview. It's on. I found it on Rumble. I'll link it in the description when we get done here. It was a very informative interview. Elon is a little bit, I don't know what the word for him is. He's like like a robot, kind of like Mark Zuckerberg a little.
I
But
think he's afraid of being taken too unseriously because it is the Babylon Bee.
I don't know. He shares a lot of Babylon Bee stuff, which Babylon Bee is a Christian satire online magazine. It's basically
It's like the Onion used to be.
yeah.
The Onion. Okay, you mentioned the Onion earlier. The Onion got bought out by I can't remember the names now, but it was essentially people that got tired of them going after Hillary Clinton, and they bought it to make it. That's so stupid that people bought a newspaper because they were making. It's like when Norm Macdonald got fired from Saturday Night Live because he wouldn't quit making fun of OJ, and people were like, "Oh, they had to follow." No, literally, the guy came out and was like, "No, OJ was his friend. He wanted to quit making fun of him." You don't see that kind of crap that goes behind the scenes like that. But they bought it because of Hillary. I do like the Babylon Bee. I do think. Go ahead. I'll keep that opinion.
Well, I guess what I was getting into is we were talking about the transhuman stuff.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of been an ongoing theme for us is transhumanism and how it's spreading through the technological society to our area. And Elon Musk was talking about, among other things, they asked him about the Neuralink technology, which allows a brain implant to be connected to a computer or phone. And one of the reasons Elon, and you mentioned this in one of our earlier episodes, Elon started off saying that superintelligence, digital intelligence was could be a very scary thing for us.
Oh, he was against AI for a very long
And
time, and then one day he was like, "Well, I guess it's my job now."
Well, I think I get his point after watching this video. So maybe you should watch it. Maybe you should watch it.
Maybe I should.
They asked him specifically why, if he was so concerned about a digital intelligence being basically becoming Skynet or what have you, why he would invent that. And his explanation for that was basically that stuff is being built, whether we like it or not. These interfaces, these intelligent interfaces, can communicate with computers at such a high rate of speed that we have to be able to communicate with them efficiently in order to even hope to one day compete with that.
So he has to create an Ultron.
No, because you have to. If I touch my mouse pad right here, or if I use my mouse, or if I use my thumb to communicate on my cell phone, I can exchange information. I can upload my information from my brain to that interface about 10 bits per second as a maximum. That's nothing. 10 bits per second.
Okay.
So that's me clicking, pointing, clicking on my mouse, tapping on my phone,
I get that.
typing. The maximum I can input information is 10 bits per second. Okay, computers are able to do hundreds and thousands. I mean, a kilobit per second is nothing in today's. Megabit per second is nothing. Megabyte per second is nothing. A gigabyte per second. Now you're getting onto some real speed. Well, that gigabyte per second, that's a million times faster than a bit per second. So his explanation was that basically we have to have some way as humanity to interface with these machines in order to be able to even compete with how this digital superintelligence that maybe turns against us, which he thinks inevitably it is likely to do.
So he's creating a defense mechanism.
That's specifically.
Okay, that was right.
That's specifically why he said no. It's an interface for us, for a human brain, to be able to control the computers that would be needed to take on.
I don't know if that's possible. We're supposed to hop into an AI, and that thing's going to allow Elon to control it fast enough to
no, we're not that we're not that necessarily that we're controlling an AI, but that our brain is the ultimate AI. But in order to untap its potential, we must be able to interface with a computer at the level, the speed at which our brain is capable. Our hands are not capable of connecting to the computer.
Yeah, there's red flags flying all over the place for me with that, though.
Oh, of course, yeah. I definitely get them. No, I'm just saying he's given an explanation that I've not heard before for why.
That's the explanation that I thought he had to begin with, was that if they're going to create these things, we need to create something on our end to make sure that if we're going to build the bomb, we need the ability to. Yeah. We were on the same page. My issue with that is it's the same issue with people who have problems with like DARPA and all those companies like was it Con, where it's like a convention for how we can lock people up, sort of situation. Like shock. Make this. There's a stick that'll make a guy vomit from 6 feet away. And the whole time I'm watching that, I'm like, that's going to be used on like your great grandkids one day, right? Why is that going to be the flower of your existence?
Yeah.
You're going to bring in violence that could be used against your own seed later. And I have to think a transhumanist, as I think Elon Musk secretly is.
Well, he not secretly. I mean,
I'm just saying,
pretty,
if you're
pretty
saying,
openly transhumanist right there. If you're,
I guess maybe I'm just really paranoid about people seeing it from both sides. That if one side is wanting it for one thing, I have to think that the guy on this side has to be not good too. Like, you don't think that he's maybe just trying to create himself like a super suit?
Maybe. They asked him whether he would rather be Batman or Iron Man, and he's like, "What do you mean, like a fruit bat or an insect-eating bat? Because there's only two kinds of bat." He said. So he said, "I think I would rather be Irony Man,
I think that's a duck.
Who kills people with irony." But anyway, I'll link that interview in the description. It was
essentially
pretty,
the same character.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. Yeah, I think he was just talking about would you use. Yeah, okay.
I was going to try to get you off a comic book tangent. How Iron Man and Batman are essentially the same character.
Yeah.
One has more technology.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah,
nerd.
So Elon was he had an interesting interview. I feel like Elon has. He's kind of stayed independent from a lot of this stuff as far as mainstream tech and mainstream consumer culture. But at the same time, he's had to stay on the inside of it because he's got the fastest growing, one of the largest car companies in America, and he's doing space program for the government.
He was also doing with X.com that became PayPal, so that's a link into it also. I'm a little suspicious of boring, but that's another topic for another time.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to get into that. But hey, listen, if you stayed with us this far, we appreciate you. Last week I mentioned that my buddy is starting what we call the Freedom Cell, which is just basically organizing people who believe in human liberty and believe in rights and dignity of the individual, and that we ought to retain those through the future. And if you're interested in joining that and finding out how we can work together on a local level to achieve that, give me a shout at the Iron Mountain Hour at gmail.com. And we're also coming up in the very near future. I don't have a date for this yet, but we're going to do a little bit of gun fun. We're going to take Tim out. Dustin and I are going to take him out. And we're going to shoot some ARs and some AKs and some shotguns and some pistols and all kinds of fun stuff. But
I'm going to show you my WIC skills.
Yeah, and we've had some other folks from the audience express an interest in joining us in that. So if you're somebody who would like to come and do that with us, give us a shout at the Iron Mountain Hour at gmail.com. We can all get together and make this a fun thing. Just a little target shooting and gun talk for anybody who's into that kind of thing. We wanted this channel to be stuff that we're into, which for me includes guns and music and cars and video games.
So that's
yeah, Tim's not really a gun guy, so but he's interested in kind of learning what guns make what makes us tick, us gun guys, as a psychology major, if nothing else. So we'd like to invite you, if you're interested, one of our viewers, to join us with that. If you're interested in joining the Freedom Cells, either way, you can holler at us at the Iron Mountain Hour at gmail.com. Please like and subscribe and share this video. Let's get it around there. Let's avoid this, let's tickle the algorithm there for YouTube and get it to more people. I've pretty much sent it to everybody I know. I don't have anybody else I can share it with and expand it, so I'm kind of counting on you all to get it out there more, because we're kind of stagnating in our views. So we're not getting a lot of help from YouTube as far as growing the channel. So if you want to do that, we would appreciate it. And my buddy Unibluffer here says, let you know where we're having the meet. So let me know. And if you're interested in that, we'll get it all set up. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we'll have Nuga Jack on, but I haven't talked to him yet. So as soon as I hear from him, I'll let you know when we're going to have that talk on about Bill Lee and the CCP, as well as Maximus Incorporated and the Chattanooga Smart City. we're going to get it off of here tonight. We're going to say happy birthday to B again one more time. Happy holidays to everybody. We got the new year coming up. We'll see you next year, guys. Thank you.
Wink.